Hi everyone, welcome to Simply Radiance Living. My name is Mohan Fong. At Simply Radiance Living and my website and social media, I share evidence-based health information and health tips with references to the relevant scientific research and scientific studies so that you can be empowered to make informed decisions and take charge of your health. In this wellness talk, I'll be talking about toxins and detox. The word detox may not be new to you. It may have become a common and perhaps even trendy word these days. You may have heard of people telling you that they are going through some kind of detox or cleanse protocol. But why do we need to detox? In this wellness talk, I'll explain the rationale behind. I'll first talk about what are the common toxins that we are regularly exposed to in our modern living, so that we can try to avoid them whenever possible. I'll explain how toxins can adversely affect our health, as shown by scientific research. And then I'll talk about how our body's natural detox capabilities can help to remove toxins out of our body's major detox organs and detox functions. I'll then conclude the talk by providing some tips on how we can support our body's natural detox capabilities so that we can reduce toxic load in our body. Please continue watching this video to find out more. I'll be sharing a few slides here. Before we begin, here are a few disclaimers. Please take a moment to read it over. Basically, this presentation is purely for educational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any specific disease. You should always consult your physician or other healthcare professional for any medical advice or before taking any medication or supplement. Here's an outline of my presentation. I'll first talk about what are the underlying culprits to many of our health issues and relate that to toxins. And then I'll talk about what are the common toxins that we are exposed to in our modern living. And then I'll give a detailed breakdown of how toxins can adversely affect our health in many ways. I'll then talk about our body's natural detox capabilities. What are our major detox organs and detox functions? And then finally, I'll give some tips on how to reduce toxic load in the body and how to support our body's major detox organs and functions. Please note that this presentation is an abstract of an article that I have published on my website, How Toxins Affect Your Health and Tips to Reduce Toxic Load. Here's the link to my article. If you are interested to find out more and to read about the scientific research related to toxins and detox, you can check out my article on my website. Before we look at how toxins can adversely affect our health, let me first talk about what are the underlying culprits to many of our health issues. I often like to draw an analogy to an iceberg. When we look at an iceberg, we see the top, the surface, but we often don't realize what is hidden underneath, perhaps an underlying danger that we don't realize. Similarly to our body, we can observe and experience the signs and symptoms such as those listed here: digestive issues, sleep issues, skin problems, pains and aches, fatigues, mood issue, and other chronic diseases. What we don't realize is before these signs and symptoms appear, there could be some ongoing, underlying, deeply rooted issues going on for a while, long before those signs and symptoms appear. These deeply rooted issues and underlying culprits are what I call stressors, as shown at the bottom here. Stressors are what cause harms and stress in the body. Some of the common stressors are shown here, and toxins is a major one, which is the focus of this talk. Toxins can be from foods, the products we use, from our living environment. Toxins can include heavy metals such as mercury, lead, arsenic, etc., toxic chemicals, and also mold in the environment. Another major stressor is hidden infection, which can include parasites and other self-infection that we may not even realize we have. And then stress, mental and physical stress, also cause harm to the body. Improper diet and improper lifestyle as well. When stressors persist for a while in our body, our organs and body systems start to give in and malfunctions occur. This is called the underlying dysfunctions in the body. Some of the common underlying dysfunctions include chronic inflammation, which is also associated with oxidative stress, and both of them are the underlying disease process of many modern day disease. I'll talk more about that later. And then there's the gut dysfunction, food allergies, food sensitivities, autoimmune disorders. All these are related to immune system reactivity. And also disruption to hormonal system, causing hormonal imbalance, impaired detoxification, brain and nervous system dysfunctions. When underlying dysfunctions in our body goes on for a while, eventually signs and symptoms appear. And that's when we realize that we have some health issues. But the truth is, there have been some ongoing stressors and underlying dysfunctions that have been going on for a while in our body. Therefore, we really want to go after the underlying dysfunction and stressors when we address the health issues, rather than simply chasing after and suppress the symptoms. We want to remove stressors from our body. For example, we want to remove toxins that have been accumulated in our body. We also want to address the underlying dysfunctions, for example, healing the gut, address chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, and perhaps also avoid eating certain foods that cause allergic and sensitivity reaction. And we may also want to balance the hormone. However, we cannot just address the underlying dysfunctions in the body, such as taking some herbs and supplements to try to heal the gut or balance the hormones, without going after the source of the problem. There are the stressors in our body. Because the stressors are like fire burning underneath. We want to put out the fire and at the same time trying to correct the underlying dysfunctions. Only when the stressors are removed and the underlying dysfunctions are corrected, then signs and symptoms that we experience will eventually disappear. And going after the underlying culprits is exactly the goal of functional health approach. As a functional health coach, I work with my clients to support them to systematically uncover those hidden and underlying culprits that are the stressors and dysfunctions in the body. This is done by using certain functional assessment tools. I have another video that provides the details of what functional health coaching entails. And what are those functional assessment tools, such as functional lab tests. There are certain functional lab tests that can check for toxic accumulation in the body, such as heavy metals and toxic chemicals. And there are also certain functional lab tests that can check for gut dysfunction and other dysfunction in the body. If you're interested, you can check out the video. I'll provide the link below. And once we uncover those underlying issues, I then coach my clients on holistic diet, nutrition, lifestyle, and specific protocols to address those underlying issues. Some of the specific protocols can include detox protocols. Let's now take a look at the common toxins that we are exposed to in our daily life. It may not be of surprise to you that toxins are quite ubiquitously present in our modern living. We may be exposed to as high as tens of thousands of toxins on a daily basis. Toxin can be found in our foods and water, especially processed food, which is filled with food chemicals such as preservatives and coloring, and also pesticides and herbicides and other agricultural chemicals that are used in especially non-organic farming. And then toxins can be found in our food chain, in the fish, seafood, such as mercury. And these toxins are from the water, the soil, in the environment that end up in our food chain. And then toxins also can be found in our tap water. Environmental pollutants and contaminants that end up in the water system also end up in our tap water. And then toxins in alcohol, because when alcohol metabolizes in our body, it forms a toxic compound. I'll talk more about that later. And then toxins can also be found in our household products, non-stick cookware, aluminum cookware, plastic cookware. And then also household and building materials such as paint, glue and adhesive, furniture, and also cleaning products. And toxins can also be found in our personal care products, our clothing as well. Skincare, cosmetic, personal hygiene products. Toxins in clothing are those synthetic fiber that including certain toxic chemicals. Water-resistant clothing also includes some toxic chemicals as well. And then, of course, environmental pollutants that exist in our water, soil, and the air we breathe. Those environmental pollutants come from industrial and consumer waste, agricultural chemicals, car exhaust, etc. To give a better illustration of how ubiquitous toxins are in our daily life, here's a closer look at what are the common toxins found in foods and water. Food additives, such as preservatives and food coloring that I mentioned earlier, and also high heat cooking of carbohydrates and meats also produce some toxic compounds listed here. Agricultural chemicals, as mentioned earlier. And then here is a list of environmental pollutants that end up in our food chain, such as heavy metals, mercury, cadmium, etc. And then a long list of other toxic chemicals such as PCBs, PBBs, PBDEs, PFAS, etc. All these toxic chemicals and heavy metals end up in our food chain in fish, seafood, and fatty tissues of animals. Many of these toxic chemicals are the so-called persistent organic pollutants or POPs because they persist in our environment for decades and continue to end up in our food chain. In general, the higher the food chain, the higher the amount of toxin accumulation. And then these industrial and agricultural chemicals and heavy metals also end up in our water system and tap water, as I mentioned earlier. A good resource is the Environmental Working Group website. In there, as the link provided here, you can key in your zip code and check the contaminants in the tap water in the area that you live. And in addition to those contaminants in our tap water, there are actually toxic chemicals that are added or generated as a byproduct during water treatment. Some of these chemicals are listed here. And then alcohol, as I mentioned earlier, it is metabolized in the body to form something called the acetaldehyde and other oxidants that create free radical damage to our tissues and our DNA. Here's another closer look at toxins in our daily life, this time household products and living environments. One major toxins or toxic chemicals that are found to have adverse health effects is PFAS. PFAS is commonly used in many products because of its heat, stains, grease, and water resistant properties. It's commonly used in non-stick cookware such as Teflon, furniture, carpets, clothing, fast food packaging, etc. PFAS is also called the forever chemicals because it can persist in the environment for so long that its lifetime still cannot be determined. Some PFAS has been banned and not manufactured in the US anymore, but because of its persistent nature, it still exists in the environment and end up in our food chain. And not every country banned the use of PFAS, so imported goods and products can contain PFAS. Another common toxic chemicals is BPA in plastic. This is commonly known. And then another one is phthalates, which is another toxic chemicals that are known to cause many adverse health effects. And phthalates is also commonly used in household and industrial products, including PVC, electronics, packaging, inks, paint, even pharmaceuticals. It's also commonly used in fragrance, in our personal care products. I did not list fragrance here because I listed that under the personal care product category. If you want to find out more, you can check out my article in my website. And then there's also the flame retardants, formaldehyde in glues in some furniture. Also toxic chemicals in our household cleaning products. Industrial solvents. And another important toxic chemicals in our daily lives is in our cookware, heavy metals, including aluminum cookware. And also even stainless steel cookware contain nickel, chromium, and in some cases aluminum as well inside. If the surface coating of the stainless steel cookware is scratched, these heavy metals can leach out. And then there are also heavy metals in other household products, water pipes, jewelry, cosmetics, food packaging as well. And then there's also another important group of toxic chemicals called the volatile organic compounds. These are toxic fumes that are released by some household products, furniture, building materials, such as paints, lacquers, varnishes, other building materials, permanent markers, glues, adhesive, even dry cleaning chemicals. VOC has been found to be the major source of indoor pollutants, and is found to be 2 to 5 times or even as high as 10 times higher concentration of VOCs indoor than outdoor. Let's now dive into how toxins can adversely affect our health. Toxins can disrupt our hormonal system, causing hormonal imbalance. There are a group of toxins called xenoestrogens, which are listed here, and they can mimic the effects of estrogen in our body, causing the symptoms and health issues that are related to excess estrogen, such as certain types of cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, etc., PMS, uterine fibroid, endometriosis, etc. There are also other types of toxins such as pesticides and fungicides, which can suppress male hormones. And yet another types of toxins can also impair thyroid function. Toxins can also affect our reproductive function. Exposure to certain toxins can reduce the likelihood of pregnancy and increase the likelihood of miscarriage. Prenatal exposure of fetus to certain toxins can also have long-lasting and permanent effects on the offsprings. Certain toxins can also cause brain, neurological, and mental disorders. Certain toxins are neurotoxic, meaning toxic to the nervous system, including the brain. For example, Alzheimer's disease is linked to exposure to certain heavy metals, including mercury, lead, aluminum, and also exposure to certain pesticides, herbicides, and air pollutants. Parkinson's disease is linked to exposure to lead, pesticide, herbicides, fungicide, and solvents. Multiple sclerosis is linked to exposure to certain solvents, and autism is linked to exposure to mercury, lead, pesticide, and air pollutants. And toxin exposure is also linked to poor mental health. And many toxins are found to be carcinogens, meaning cancer-causing agents. Some of the common ones are listed here, including some foods, such as processed meats and red meats, alcohol. Toxins can also affect our immune system. Some toxins can suppress our immune defense, and some toxins can trigger hyperreactivity of our immune system, causing sensitive and allergic reaction. Some other toxins can also cause autoimmune disorders, where our body-owned immune cells attack our body-owned cells and tissues, causing damage. Some of the common autoimmune disorders include celiac disease, multiple sclerosis, and lupus. Toxins can also trigger chronic inflammation and the associated oxidative stress in our body. And these two are the major underlying disease process of many modern-day diseases, including type 2 diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, obesity, cancer, Alzheimer's, etc. Exposure to toxins can also alter our gut microbiota or gut flora. Good bacteria or other good microbes in our gut play an important role to our health, not just our digestive and gut health. Imbalance of our gut microbiota or gut flora is linked to digestive and gut disorders, and additionally is linked to metabolic diseases such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, and it's also linked to cancer, chronic liver disease, chronic kidney disease, immune and inflammatory diseases. Toxins can also directly damage our detox organs. Liver, kidneys, and the gut are three major detox organs in our body. These detox organs are under direct assault of toxins. Chronic exposure to toxins can cause tissue damage and dysfunctions of these organs. When our detox organs are dysfunction, our detox capabilities in our body diminish, and as a result, more toxins get accumulated in our body, and this forms a vicious cycle. Therefore, it is important to support and protect our detox organs and detox functions in the body. I'll talk more about that later. And chronic exposure to air pollutants and tobacco smoke can impair our lung function and respiratory health. Last but not least, toxins can also affect the nutritional status in our body. As mentioned earlier, toxins can cause gut dysfunction, thus affecting our digestion and absorption of nutrients. In addition, certain toxins can affect nutrient metabolism in the body. For example, tobacco smoking is linked to reduced level of vitamin B6, vitamin C, and vitamin E. And it's also linked to reduced level of folic acid, beta-carotene, and zinc in the body. Cadmium affects calcium absorption, vitamin D activation in the kidneys, and increased calcium excretion in the urine. Therefore, exposure to cadmium can affect our bone health. Now that we have seen how toxins can have widespread adverse health effects on our body, it may become apparent that we should try to reduce toxic load in our body as much as possible. I'll provide some tips in a later slide. Now let's take a look at our body's natural detox capabilities, our major detox organs and detox functions. Basically, these are the organs and functions that we should try to support and protect through our diet and lifestyle. I'll talk more about that later. Our body detox functions have two major parts. The first part is detox organs. These organs try to block toxins from entering the body. And in case toxins have entered the body, these organs try to neutralize, conjugate, bind, and filter toxins to reduce the harmful effects of toxins in the body. And the second part is drainage channels. After toxins are neutralized, conjugate, bind, and filtered, they need to be carried out of the body. This is the job of the drainage channels. They are responsible for mobilizing the toxins and excreting the toxins out of the body via stool, urine, and sweat. Let's first take a look at the major detox organs, starting with the liver. Our liver can neutralize and conjugate toxic chemicals so that these toxic chemicals become no longer harmful. Bile produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder then further bind to these neutralized and conjugated toxins and then secreted into the small intestine. This is then further carried into the large intestine and excreted out of the body as stool. Another major detox organ is our small intestine. Our small intestine can be considered a detox organ because the lining of the small intestine can selectively absorb nutrients and block toxins from entering our body, from entering our bloodstream. And then we have the kidneys. Our kidneys is also a major detox organ. Our kidneys can filter toxins in our blood so that it can be excreted out of the body through urine. Let's now take a look at the drainage channels. The large intestine or bowel is a major drainage channel. Toxins that are blocked by the small intestine lining are carried over to the large intestine to be excreted out of the body as stool. As also mentioned earlier, toxins that are bind to the bile are secreted into small intestine and then carried over to the large intestine to be excreted as stool. And then we have our urinary system. Toxins in the bloodstream, as mentioned earlier, are filtered by the kidney and then excreted out of the body as urine. And toxins that are neutralized and conjugated in the liver can also end up in the bloodstream and carried over to the kidneys to be filtered out and excreted in urine. Another major drainage channel is our skin. Toxins are excreted out when we sweat. And last but not least is our lymphatic system. Beside our vascular system, that is our blood circulation, our lymphatic system is a major transport system in the body. It is often underlooked, but our lymphatic system forms a major part of our immune system. In addition, the lymphatic system also mobilizes nutrients, metabolic waste, and toxins in the body. Stagnation of the lymphatic system can contribute to many health issues. So here is a summary of the major detox organs and drainage channels in our body. Ideally, we want to protect them, support them through our diet and lifestyle, and certain detox and supportive protocols. And this brings us to the next topic, tips to reduce toxic load in the body. What I present here is just a quick abstract of some of the tips. For more details, please check out my articles in my website. First and foremost, our primary goal should be to minimize toxin exposure. It is always better to prevent toxins from entering our body rather than removing toxins after they have entered our body. Starting with diet. We have looked at the details of where toxins are found in our foods and our water. Therefore, it may be logical or make sense to try to avoid those toxins as much as possible. Eating organic whole foods whenever possible. By eating organic, we can try to avoid agricultural chemicals such as pesticides, herbicides, etc. found in non-organic farming. By eating whole foods, we try to avoid processed foods, which can be filled with food additives, including food coloring, preservatives, artificial sweeteners, etc. By eating whole foods, we also try to eat whole grains instead of refined grains, such as white flour, white rice, which are stripped of nutrients. By eating whole foods, we also try to avoid refined sugars and high fructose corn syrups, which are found in many processed foods. Refined sugars and high fructose corn syrup have been found to be harmful to our liver and our gut, our two major detox organs. We may also want to eat lower in the food chain because toxins tend to bioaccumulate higher in the food chain, especially fatty tissues of animals. If you want to eat fish, try to avoid fish that tend to be high in mercury, such as swordfish, marlin, king mackerel, etc. We also want to adopt a plant-rich diet because whole fruits, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains are naturally rich in antioxidants and rich in anti-inflammatory properties. They are also rich in pre- and probiotics, which are good for gut health, and they are also rich in fibers, which are good for bowel health and toxin elimination. And we should also try to drink clean water. Trying to drink water that is free of contaminants. Use a good water filter, for example. And next is lifestyle. Choose clean personal care and household products that are free of toxic chemicals. Natural products are usually better, but always read the label and check the ingredients. Choose cleaner cookware and utensils. Try to avoid non-stick cookware if possible. Even ceramic-coated cookware may be of risk because if the ceramic coating is scratched, the heavy metals inside such as aluminum, chromium can leach out. If you want to use stainless steel cookware, try to choose high-grade stainless steel. And also try to clean your indoor air. For example, use a good indoor air purifier. And perhaps choose low-toxicity furniture and building supplies such as paint. In addition to minimize exposure to toxins, we also want to support our detox organs and drainage channels. These organs and channels are working hard to remove toxins out of our body. Therefore, we want to support them for their optimum function. Some of the lifestyle and diet strategies are shown here. Eating a whole food plant-rich diet, as previously mentioned, is also supportive of our liver, kidneys, and gut health. Avoid excessive alcohol consumption and cigarette smoking. Stress management. Adequate sleep. Healthy weight management. Physical exercise. And also perhaps some additional support for our lymphatic drainage. Physical exercise can also promote our lymphatic drainage. In addition, we can try dry skin brushing, lymphatic massage, deep breathing, and infrared sauna. These are just some of the examples here. And we also want to address some deeply rooted and often hidden gut dysfunction that we may not be aware of, such as gut infections, parasite infection, H. pylori, which can often be hidden and we're not aware of, and leaky gut, which can be quite common, gut inflammation, and also food allergies and food sensitivities, which may imply gut dysfunction as well. Additionally, we may employ certain specific detox protocol. Even though we may try to avoid toxin exposure as much as we could through proper diet and lifestyle, as previously discussed, there may be already toxins accumulated in our body for years or even decades, perhaps since childhood. Therefore, we may need some specific protocol to help to pull those toxins out of our tissue and our cells and remove them out of the body. For example, we may employ heavy metal detox to pull toxins, heavy metals out of our cells and tissues and excrete it out of the body. In addition, we may also need certain protocol to further support our detox organs and detox function, such as liver and gallbladder cleanse, and also parasite cleanse to clear parasite out of our body, to remove one of those major stressors out of our body. That's pretty much all I want to cover in this video. If you want to read more about toxins and detox and check out the relevant scientific research, you can check out my full article on my website. Here's the link. There are also other related articles and blogs on my website, such as tips for gut health, tips to support liver health, our two major detox organs. To find out more about functional health coaching and see how it may help you take charge of your health, please check out my previous video on my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. You can also stay connected to get up-to-date health information and health tips by joining my email newsletter to my website, or follow me on Facebook page, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're interested to find out more about detox protocol and how I may support you in your health and detox journey, please feel free to book a free complimentary discovery call with me through my website. I'll provide all these links below. That's all I want to cover in this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you find the information useful. And please note that you can take charge of your health by addressing the deeply rooted and underlying culprits, such as toxins, in your body.